Well, good afternoon, everybody. My name is Sergeant Friday. I'm with the Your Ass Hurts News Network. I want to thank everybody that's responded to the last couple of videos that I've done. The videos are a message to, and these videos will change on a daily basis. The message will be to uh, many individuals. Many of them will shock you to hear their names. But currently, I'm sticking with cases that are part of true crime that are relevant to the public knowledge and public interaction as far as it goes with the social media interaction on these cases. In this particular video, I would like to just address Seth Roberts. I'm sorry, I said that so wrong. Seth Rogers. Um, Seth, you can call me Bruno, and one day maybe we'll talk or meet. I just wanted to address you and tell you my deepest heartfelt feelings for your loss, for the suffering and pain and despair of the unknown connected to the loss, and for that the torturous desire to put your son in a hug, put him in the car, take him for a ride, interact with him. I can't personally relate on that to that kind of suffering, and suffering it is, and no parent, you know, you know, some ways this is even worse than losing a child to an accident of some sort. Here, this complete unknown, and your suffering just it goes to a level that most of us can give you statements like I'm giving you, but just be aware that almost none of us can relate directly with any of this with the situation that you're embroiled in. And so again, my deepest heartfelt sympathies to you and to Sebastian and the family in general. The reason I made this video, and I had made a video that was directed towards your son, um, is not to pick sides, not to pick winners and losers, but to remind you that it is your son that matters more than anything else. It matters more than anything else to you, to Chris, to Katie, to the relatives, to the friends, to the teachers, to the circle of adults and families and friends that he had, and importantly to the hundreds of thousands, possibly millions of people that are part of social media. His safe return and his knowing he's okay and or finding him okay is of paramount importance. It's all that matters. Nothing else matters. And I can relate to the undue suffering that you're enduring and the lashing out and the acting out emotionally because your hurt from the past seem to be more relevant under the conditions under which your son went missing, or at least they seem that way or they feel that way. And I can understand your despair, and I can understand the attacks. As an example, I Googled your name to make sure I spelled it right. And the first video that came up is Court TV. And it says his mom is responsible for this. Sebastian Rogers' dad, and goes on. Now, I would hope that the top hit from that search could be something different. That it wasn't you accusing the mom, and it wasn't you accusing the stepfather. It wasn't you accusing anybody for the disappearance of your son. A disappearance that's the most mind-boggling disappearance I've ever heard of. It's devastating, even more so because of the circumstances under which he went missing. There's no doubt about it. Yet the agony and the anguish and the burden and the pain and the emotional distress that you had before the situation should absolutely not be a part of the situation. And that's where I would hope maybe you would refocus your efforts, take down these people that are supposed to be representing you, come out, be the father that you are, and make every statement, every request, everything focused solely on the recovery of your son. Put in the effort, put in the time that I'm sure you're doing now. But when it comes to public speaking, it's been turned into a shit show of who's worse than who's worse, and who did it, who coulda, woulda, shoulda. And the fact of the matter is, you, along with the Proudfoots, according to the police's own statements, there's um, no sign of anything done wrong here. by any of you parents. And listen, I get that the old pains that you have, I have them too. I went through a divorce. After that divorce, something happened to my daughter, something that I'm convinced then and now that if I were given the proper custody arrangement would not have happened. However, as you are able to look back on things in life, you realize that even in a partial custody situation, even though at this particular time what happened while the child should have been with me, it could have happened on times anytime. The nature of what happened could have happened anytime and would have happened anytime. And I'm not going to get into specifics because I don't want to say anything that if my daughter hears these videos would embarrass her or cause her any stress whatsoever. And I'm using this as an example, Seth. And that frame of mind, that dealing in that context, understanding that issues are different. And even though I'm personally convinced, especially at the time, in the heat of the moment, that if I would have had a better custody arrangement, if it was shared custody as it should have been, this wouldn't have happened to my daughter. And as time went on and I reflected back, it's a good thing I didn't respond to my emotions. Unlike your situation where that's all unknown, my situation, I clearly knew the actors involved, and my immediate response was to go commit homicide. And it took friends and it took everything in me not to go commit homicide against not just my ex-wife, but others attached to that situation. So let me tell you, for 100% fact, I not only can relate to your son, I can relate to the pain and anguish that you're going through and the thoughts and even your own shortcomings that you beat yourself up with, that I beat myself up with. And in the end, as time passes and you reflect back, your reflection is going to offer you a way to see things that you couldn't see in the heat of the moment. And so I just wanted to come out here and share that with you, that this is not the time to rehash and add all that past agony onto the agony of the burden that you're carrying already with your son disappearing like he was taken by some UFO or something. It's just mind numbing what happened to your son. I can't, and I'm a very logical person. I try to be very, very fact driven person. And I just can't make heads or tails or sense of what happened with Sebastian. So I get you there. And I had a contentious divorce. And then I had something happen to my child that's just, and I had to cope with that situation. And I'm glad that I had a friend, and I'm glad that I had the ability to cope and leave that issue off the table when we dealt with what had to be dealt with, which was what happened. And I didn't get into the other things that if they were different, because the if is never sure. And when we woulda, coulda, shoulda, or if, it just leaves all the room for your emotions to pile in and run you over. And I think sadly that's happened here. And I honestly think that had you engaged with hosts on YouTube, hosts that were responsible to the subject they are covering, which is Sebastian Rogers, had you engaged with hosts that helped rein in and helped you express those feelings, but not to the public, between you and yourselves or close friends, your ideas and thoughts of what Katie or Chris or anybody else might have done, and kept them off the air and kept the focus on just helping find Sebastian. Not saying that you haven't focused on that. I'm not accusing you of any wrongdoing. I'm simply pointing out to you that the emotional stress and pain that you're under has been used by people that should never have used it, have encouraged you by supporting you and surrounding you, and you're their patsy. It may even not even feel like that to you. You may feel justified because what you're saying about your past issues with these folks is true. And it could be. I don't want to talk about it. It's none of my business. But the real truth is Sebastian's still missing. And the real truth is that for every word and for every letter that was applied to go between the parents, against the parents, through any kind of streamer or any kind of statements to the public, for every single letter of those statements and those millions of words that were spoken, if just 10 times for each of those letters, we could have said the name Sebastian Rogers, we may have found your son by now. This idea and this chaos and this vitriol, all is based on absolute suffering. That your son is gone. I get it. I would be that. Listen, I'm not going to be specific about the things with my daughter because my daughter's stuff is personal to her, I and her mother. And no matter who's right or wrong or not, doesn't matter. It's nobody's damn business. And that's kind of what I'm trying to say to you. You want to hear it straight up? That's what I'm saying to you. Your issues with these other two, with the other two parents, are not part of this story. If a fact arises that impugns any one of them, then these particular issues may be relevant to some extent. And then again, they may not be. But clearly, they're not relevant in trying to bring Sebastian home. Look at all the contention between you three. Look at all the vitriol between you three. Look at all the chaos between you three. If this boy ran away because of you three, and I'm not saying he did, but let's be honest, it could be because of you three, especially since we've seen the last 90 days of interactions, right? It could have been. And just imagine now if you see it still going on. What motive are you giving the boy to come home? Seth, you can do this. We can do this. It just takes a little reshuffling. We can use the same computers, the same phones, the same keyboards. We can do this. We can find Sebastian. But all of the other side talk based on heartfelt emotions needs to stop. Your representatives need to go. And I think you need to pick, or at least with the people that you're comfortable with, force them, because you won't engage in any of this vitriol again, and stick to it and talk about Sebastian. Let's draw a map of the areas that were searched, of areas that haven't been searched, and let's start making the map bigger. Let's start raising money for billboards. Let's get even more intense of searching for him again, like it just happened yesterday, and get that kind of energy going again, and try to locate Sebastian. That's my hope. That's why I'm making a message to you, that if I could, and that's why I'm doing this. I feel that my advice is no worse than anyone else's advice. Advice is advice, but I highly suspect the advice I'm giving you is going to be a bit more pointed and a bit more critical, yet not condemning. I won't condemn any of you three for any reason whatsoever. You don't deserve it. You have so much pain right now that for anybody to help add more pain, for any streamer, for any host, or for anybody that pretends to be a creator, I'm a creator. No, God's the creator. Okay, you're just a bunch of idiots like me that have a YouTube channel. That's it. Okay, we're all just a bunch of fucking idiots. But if we sit back and think, we can do sensible things, we can do amazing things. We all have to just get on the same page and stay there. So I wish you, your son, all the best I can offer. And I can assure you that even people that at this point may hate the other co-parents, they'll even agree, even with Chris and Katie, and alongside of you, those people that disagree or don't like you, even they'll agree that finding Sebastian will fix everything. So I want to sign off now. I don't know where else to go with this. And I hope you received this well, and know that it was sent with only the most considerate intentions, and the hope that you give it consideration. And the streamers that you're involved with, specifically some, I'm not going to name names, but your representatives, take this and run with this concept, this idea, this way of separating the pain that you have from multiple things throughout life, and focusing only on the tragedy and the pain that is the missing young man, Sebastian, your son. And I'm signing off. I ran out of stuff to say, and I hope this was enough.